In our previous lesson, we were introduced to the two aspects of culture, which were the material aspects or the tangible things and the non-material aspects or the intangible things. Now, in that lesson itself, we got to know how language and religion play a very crucial role in shaping the cultural landscape of any region, any community. Now, you will be surprised to know that even the ideals, the aspirations of one community can also shape the culture of an area at large. Now, when we talk about a dominant community giving shape to the culture of a region, we must talk about the Rajputs. Now, the Rajputs are very well known for their chivalry, their heroism, their bravery, their courage, their valor, their pride. So, these are ideals, these are attributes that we generally associate with the Rajputs. Now, when the British imposed its colonial rule on the subcontinent, they clubbed together these princely states to give birth to a region known as the Rajputana, and Rajputana comprises the present day Indian state of Rajasthan. Now, the Rajputs were a warrior class. They were a warrior community. So, there were several kings who belonged to the Rajput community. Along with that, several Rajputs also served in the armies of different kings. So, from this, the point that we can establish is that the Rajputs were very brave and courageous, which is why they were kings and rulers and warriors. Now, the Rajputs did not live only in the region known as the Rajputana, because they were spread across different northern parts in the subcontinent. Now, when we talk about Rajputana, do you think that only the Rajputs lived in that region? Most definitely not. It cannot be possible that only one community lived in a particular region. That would be a very wrong thing to assume, because no region has a very homogeneous population. Every region has different communities living together in it. Likewise, in Rajputana as well, there were many small communities that lived alongside the Rajputs. But why do we talk about only the Rajputs when we talk about their influence on the culture of this region? Because the Rajputs were the most dominant group or most dominant community in this region. And it goes without saying that their culture, their ideals, their aspirations, their ways of living, their perspective and worldview shaped the culture of this region as well. So, from this we can understand that the Rajputs immensely contributed to the heritage of Rajasthan. There are no rulers in the present democratic country, that is India, but the Rajputs still continue to be associated with the ideals that they embodied at one point of time. Let us now discuss in greater detail about the Rajputs and their ideals and aspirations. Now, when we talk about the Rajputs, I am sure that a very important question that must have come to your mind is that what does this word Rajput mean? Now, the term Rajput owes its origin to the Sanskrit word Rajputra. Now, what does the word Rajputra mean? Rajputra means the progenitor or the scion of a king. In simple words, Rajputra means the successor or the descendant of a king. So, this establishes the fact that the Rajputs were all warriors or kings, because they were associated with this idea of being the progenitor of a king. Now, the Rajput ideals have shaped the culture of Rajasthan. Because whenever we talk about the Rajputs, even in present day independent India, we associate them with the bravery, the courage, the heroism that they used to display at one point of time. Now the Rajputs often chose death over dishonor. So from this I am very sure you can understand how important honor was and honor is to the Rajputs. Now many bards and minstrels have sung and written about the Rajput idols, about the courage of the various Rajput rulers, and it is from these works that we get to know about the worldview and perspectives of these Rajput rulers, and from this we can trace and understand how the rulers' ideas, the rulers' worldview and perspectives also shaped the cultural landscape of Rajputana or the present day Indian state of Rajasthan. Before proceeding with this lesson, let me ask you a question. To which Sanskrit word does the Rajput community owe its name? Did it get its name from the Sanskrit word Raja, Rajputra, Rajputana or Rajya? Well, the correct answer is Rajputra. The Sanskrit word Rajputra, which means the progenitor or the scion of a king, is the original word from which we can get the word Rajput. Now, Rajasthani literature contains celebratory accounts of the Rajput rulers, about their chivalry, their heroism, their triumphs. So this is a point that we have been harping upon all along, because the Rajput rulers are invariably and intricately associated and linked with chivalry, heroism, triumphs, pride, honor. So these are ideals to which the Rajput rulers looked up to. And it would be wrong to say that the Rajput rulers only looked up to these idols. They in fact embodied these idols with their prowess, with their courage, with their aspirations. In this regard, mention must be made of the 12th century epic poem that is called Prithviraj Raso. This was composed by Chand Bardai. Now what does this epic poem tell us? This poem talks about the brave Rajput ruler Prithviraj Chauhan of the Chahamana clan. Now in the beginning of this lesson we talked about how there were several groups or clans that together constituted the Rajputs. And in the Chahamana clan, there was a very powerful and brave ruler by the name of Prithviraj Chauhan. And it is from the 12th century epic poem Prithviraj Raso that we get to know about his heroic exploits, about his heroic courage and bravery. Now all this while we have been talking about how the Rajput rulers have been celebrated and glorified and kept alive in the pages of history. But these Rajput rulers were all meant to be very specific. Now where do we situate the Rajput women in this context? Do you think the Rajput women were also associated with these ideals of bravery, courage, heroism and triumph? Most definitely not, because more often than not, Rajput women were seen and considered as the cause of conflicts. So between different rulers, conflicts arose and women were the cause of those conflicts. And the Rajput rulers had to commit and spend their entire lives for either winning a woman or protecting a woman. So this is the position of the Rajput women in this context. This explains and establishes the subordinate position of women in the society, because women did not go out to fight wars. Women did not go out to adventure and explore. They were instead seen as the causes of conflicts. They were restricted to their homes alone. So they did not have a socio-political, cultural influence and impact to be very specific. And this is something that we get to know from this Rajput tradition. Identify the film whose clip we just watched? Well, it was from the Hindi film Padmavat, in which actress Deepika Padukone played the role of Rani Padmavati. Now here we can see Rani Padmavati was going to perform Johar. Now before we discuss the practice of Johar, let us find out something interesting. Now we get to know about this tale of Rani Padmavati from a 16th century epic poem by the name of Padmavat, and it was written by Malik Muhammad Jayasi. Now it is from this epic poem that we get to know about the heroic tale of Rani Padmavati. Now Rani Padmavati's heroism would be very different from the heroism displayed by a male Rajput ruler. This is because after the death of her husband, the ruler Raja Ratan Singh, and after the siege of Chittor, Rani Padmavati practiced Johar, or a kind of self-immolation. What does this mean? By self-immolation we mean that Rani Padmavati along with many other Rajput women had burnt herself in order to avoid being raped and captured by the Delhi Sultan, who was Alauddin Khalji. Now Alauddin Khalji had defeated Raja Ratan Singh and he had laid his siege on Chittor. Now Rani Padmavati in this act of Johar preserved her honor because she did not let herself be captured by this Muslim invader. So in order to preserve their honor, Rani Padmavati and other Rajput women chose death. So this now explains the Rajput ideal of choosing death over dishonor. Now this practice of self-immolation is known as Johar. Johar is practiced in order to avoid capture and dishonor at the hands of invaders. Here in this context we can see that Alauddin Khalji was a Muslim invader who had laid siege on Chittor. Now when the Rajput women and Rani Padmavati burnt themselves in this practice of self-immolation or Johar, they were able to preserve their honor. So they did not let themselves be captured by Alauddin Khalji. So in this way they preserved their honor. Now this was courageous on the part of these women, but mind you, in order to preserve their honor, they had to cost their own lives. So this is the Rajput tradition that pertains to the women folks. Now there was another practice that was prevalent in different parts of the Indian subcontinent, and it was very prominently seen among the Rajput women. After the death of one's husband, when one's husband laid his life gloriously on the battlefield, his wife now chose to burn herself on the pyre of the dead husband, and this practice is known as Sati. So there were these two practices of self-immolation or burning of oneself that was very prevalent among Rajput women. This now brings us to an end of our discussion on the Rajput tradition of heroism. Now, the Rajput tradition of heroism in ways more than one contributed to the culture of Rajasthan. As we mentioned that the Rajputs no longer continue to be warriors and rulers in independent India, but that does not mean that their ideals and aspirations have dwindled out of existence. Because even today, the Rajputs are still associated, they are still attributed to qualities like honor, bravery, courage, heroism. In our subsequent lessons, we will focus on other non-material aspects of culture like dance forms and paintings and find out how these have also helped in contributing to the culture of a region, and we will also learn how these also testify to the culture of specific communities. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. You can also register for free at DeltaStep.com or download the DeltaStep app to learn one-to-one with our amazing teachers or to get access to all our 5,000 plus amazing videos as per your school syllabus. Master each topic with our adaptive practice technology. Get million plus questions with step-by-step solutions and unlimited mock tests. Get all your doubts resolved instantly. Learn via games and win amazing prizes like PlayStations and iPads. So at DeltaStep, learning is not just fun and easy, it's rewarding too. So register for free now.